I'm ignoring that comment. All right, go, G.
Theorem 5.14, Hinge Theorem.
All right, what section is this?
5.6.
5.6. And what's the heading at the top of 5.6?
Inequalities in two angles and indirect proofs.
All right, you could just shorten that down to the Hinge Theorem. Okay, the
Theorem.
whole idea of 5.6 is, do you understand the Hinge Theorem, right? The Hinge Theorem is Theorem 5.14, and then the converse is 5.15. They go hand in hand. If you understand one of them, you'll understand the other. Okay? All right, I'm going to interrupt you a bunch, but just be patient and let's read through this theorem. Okay, go.
If two sides of one angle are congruent to
No, start over.
Pause.
Two sides of one triangle.
Oh, of one triangle are congruent to two sides of another triangle.
Stop right there. Let me draw that. All right, everybody draw this in your notes. You got one triangle and you got another triangle. And it says that two sides of one triangle are congruent to two sides of another triangle. I'm going to label this triangle ABC so I can talk about it. I'm going to label this triangle XYZ. Okay, copy down in your notes what I've drawn up here on the board. If two sides of one triangle are congruent to two sides of another triangle. That's all I've drawn. Okay? And the reason I dissect these theorems like this is so that you can do that. So that one day you can read a theorem and say, what is the information that they're trying to tell me? Okay? Here's a question. If angle A equaled angle X, what would you be able to say? That they were congruent by what reason? Side, angle, side. Side, angle, side. If A and X were congruent, or they were equal, then there wouldn't be any, we wouldn't even be talking about this. So obviously A is not going to equal X, right? Otherwise we'd have side, angle, side. Okay? All right, pick back up. Start from the beginning.
If two sides of one triangle are congruent to two sides of another triangle, and the included angle of the first is larger than the included
Start right
angle.
there. The included angle is the one in the middle. Side, angle, side. Right? It is larger than the included angle on the other triangle. Alright? So we're still in the hypothesis. If two sides of one triangle are congruent to two sides of another triangle, and the included angle on one triangle is bigger than the included angle on the second triangle, now we got to get to the conclusion. If all of this is true, then what is the conclusion? What do you think it's going to be? What do you think? One is what? You're right. One is smaller than what? What are we talking about? What is smaller?
The angle.
Well, we know that 60 is less than 80. You're on the right track. What is the conclusion? Look at the theorem. Read the theorem, G. What is the conclusion? Then what?
Then the included angle of the second, then the third side, then the third side of the first is longer than the third side of the second.
What does that mean? Who can tell me what that means coming out of the theorem, Corey?
Then it means that BC is longer than YZ.
Exactly right. That the third side, look, that BC, this third side, right? Doesn't it look like a hinge? Right? Does everybody know what a hinge looks like?
No.
Kind of looks like this, right? This is called a strap hinge. And you would put it on a cabinet, right, to be able to move it. It's got a side and an angle and a side, right? As I move the hinge, here's another drawing, right, from the side. As I move that, then that's a hinge. So what it's saying is this angle in between these two congruent sides and a smaller angle in between two congruent sides means that BC has got to be greater. This has got to be greater than this, YZ. BC is greater than YZ. That's the hinge theorem. Okay? Say that again. Because the angle is bigger, then that third side is bigger. Which one would be bigger now? Which one would be bigger now? They would be equal, right? Because the triangles are congruent by side, angle, side. Which one would be bigger now?
YZ.
YZ would now be bigger, right? Because that angle is bigger than that angle. That side has to be bigger than that side. Is the hinge theorem easy? Yes, it is. What do you think is true about the converse? Right? We got the same picture up here. What do you think is going to be true about the converse? What is it going to say? It's going to say if this side, 22, and these two are congruent, and this side over here is 18, and these two are congruent, what do I know about angle A and angle X? Which one has to be bigger?
Angle A.
Angle A has to be larger. Okay, let's read the theorem. If two sides of one triangle are congruent to two sides of another triangle, and the third side of the first, the third side of the first is longer than the third side of the second, then the included angle of the first is larger than the included angle of the second. Right? You got all that? Huh? It's a mouthful, right? It's hard for me to read it all out without stopping. Okay? But the picture is worth 1,000 words. Okay? 22 is larger than 18. Therefore, angle A has to be greater than angle X. Okay? The fish, or the alligator, right, is chomping the bigger number. Okay? Questions on the hinge theorem?
Can you leave that picture up before?
Yeah, I'll leave it up. Questions? That's the theorem and its converse, and they go hand in hand. Okay? They're very much the same thing. Anybody else? All right, let's do a few problems out of our workbook. Go get your workbook out. Let's do a few problems. We did good on this. I'll show your grade on your test.